what's going on, everybody out in the YouTuberies? I'm Eric, and today we're going to talk about blues changes, blues improvisation over a major blues, some hip chords you can use, and some hip, simple lead things that you can do to just make your blues not sound quite so meh. Okay, so to start, let's talk about our blues chords. In the key of G blues, we would have a G7, a C7, and a D7. Now you could play it like this, but it just doesn't sound all that great. You could also do them as bar chords. And that's fine too. But here, I think, is a hipper way of playing the G7, the C7, and the D7. Even better, here is a great way of doing it with voice leading. Now, what I really like about these shapes is each of them has a root, the third, and the seventh. And the seventh and the third, those are the two most important intervals that you need in these chords. The fifth, irrelevant. You can skip it. The root, also not that important. In fact, we could play this chord progression with just the third and the seventh of each chord, and you will hear that 12-bar blues. Check this out. Okay, now here it is with the root added in. Okay, so I cut everything in half. That was a 6-bar blues, but I did that just to show you kind of the order of the shapes. So now let's talk about our lead playing. We could do G minor pentatonic over this all day long, and it'll sound great over each of the chords. But if we really want to make it hip, we want to outline the arpeggios of the chords as well. So starting with our G7 arpeggio over the G7 chord, we're going to have... The Pretty Woman riff is going to be our outline of the dominant 7th chord. So that's G, B, D, and F. Now, the G minor pentatonic scale contains the notes G, B flat, C, D, and F. So we have 3 of the notes, G, D, and F, from the G7 chord, and then we just have this extra C. And then B flat, what we can do is we can add in the B, and then the B flat can lead into it to give you a really cool hip sound. So check this out when I play B flat and bend it up to B. And you can really hear that bluesy sound over that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a G minor pentatonic scale and add in a B, and we get this. Pretty neat. Now, here's the important thing. You can only ever go from the B flat to the B, or the minor third to the major third. You never want to go from the major third back to the minor third. For sake of time, just trust me, it doesn't sound quite as cool. So when you go backwards through this scale, you don't want to go B, B flat, G. You actually want to start with B flat and go into B every time, like this. And you can hear it's actually kind of almost a cool little phrase, lick. So we can play that to improvise over the G7 chord. Now, over the C7 chord, what we want to do is keep that G minor pentatonic scale, but then add the 3rd and the 7th of the C7. Fortunately, the 3rd is, well, no, hold on a second. The 7th, fortunately, the 7th of the C is already embedded in the G minor pentatonic scale, but we have to add that 3rd, that E. So that's going to go like this, starting on G of G minor pentatonic, adding in all the notes of a C7. Okay, and then what I would do over the D7 is just stay G minor pentatonic, because the 5 to the 4 to the 1, that turnaround happens so quickly. I would just rip G minor pentatonic over that bottom line of the 12 bar blues. Okay, so I'm not going to play with a backing track right now, but let's we'll kind of get the sound of the chord, and I'm going to kind of jam, switching back and forth from rhythm to lead, and hopefully you can kind of get an idea of how this works. All right, so not the most beautiful playing there, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of what you can do to kind of spice up your blues playing. To recap, we've got three new ways to play the G7, the C7, and the D7. And then, instead of just sticking with G minor pentatonic like we normally would, we are adding G7 arpeggio notes over the G7 chord, which really is just adding a B. And then over the C7, we're adding an E to the G minor pentatonic scale. And then we're sticking straight G minor pentatonic the rest of the way through. So, I've been Eric, this is it, and you guys let me know what you think. What questions do you have about this? It's kind of a lot of information. I don't know how clearly this was communicated, so it makes sense in my head, but it may not make sense to you. So let me know what questions you have, and what other kind of content you would like to see. If you want me to go deeper with this, or show you how it might work in some different keys, or if I need to play it to a backing track. Anyway, be sure and like or dislike and subscribe. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and as my great Aunt Frida always says, don't stay in the fire too long.